Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Michael Hall and Michael Reed. The title of this episode is Homecoming. And speaking of that, let's talk about our affiliate, the Frederick Podcast Network. You can check them out at www.lessonfrederick.com. I butchered that, but it's all good. And we're rejoined by very special guest. It's from the game yesterday. I blame the game. Mitch Tischler. How you doing on Monumental Sports Network? Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday, Victory Monday, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Sounds like you guys might still be a little hungover from yesterday, huh?
No, it's been a long day. It's been a long day. I had to drop my car off, get my brakes fixed. It was a sweaty day at work. I will say I got all that alcohol in my system already, Mitch. But speaking of the homecoming, I got to get your opinion on the festivities. Like Hole and I, we had to walk all the way around the stadium, and seeing that parking lot was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it was so damn cool yesterday. It felt like a high school reunion. A lot of people you hadn't seen in forever kind of getting back together. Everyone kind of reminiscing about the good old days and excited about what the future has to come. I think that, there's so much of, the Dan Snyder ownership, time that people just want to forget. And I think yesterday, you kind of had two separate things. You had the football game going on, which was obviously, a big deal, kind of getting back out there, Sam Howell, all that stuff. But then you also had the party of hey, we got our team back type thing. So it was fun walking around the stadium, walking around the parking lots. I mean, it was packed. It was 2012 RG3, prime RG3 time in terms of like fans of the stadium. At halftime, I was walking out on the concourse and you could barely move. There were so many people. It was awesome out there yesterday.
Yeah, and this episode's called Homecoming. RG3 was walking around like he was homecoming king. It's like, slow down, dude. You don't even go here anymore. Calm down. I'm not at this school.
But that's how RG3 is, though, right?
Yeah,
He's larger than life, and he takes up a lot of oxygen in every room he walks into.
Yeah, he does. You also can't sneak up on him because his eyes are so far apart. I'm just kidding. I like RG3. He's a nice guy. But yesterday. It's getting a little hot in here after that. Hopefully he doesn't watch this. He doesn't. But yesterday, the one thing that was concerning, and look, we won. That's what matters. But the offensive line, you're an offensive line guy. You're an offensive line guru. The offensive line was a little concerning. What did you see from them? Charles Leno played well. Sadiq Charles struggled a little bit, especially on 3 straight plays. But, hey, it is what it is. What did you see from the O-line? Any positives?
Positives, certainly. I don't think the O-line was as bad as everyone said it was. I mean, the 6 sacks are bad, but it wasn't like the Giants last night against the Cowboys, who their O-line was just getting run over left and right. I'd say probably about half the sacks were on the O-line and half the sacks were on Sam.
Right.
The O-line wasn't good. I'm not saying that I'm not sitting here saying that they were good, but they weren't terrible. And those 3 plays I think you're talking about for Sadiq is the holding call.
Yep.
The holding call and then the sack given up. The holding call was a pretty soft call on him.
Yeah.
The sack then he got tripped up on B-Rob's foot. Like those sorts of things happen. Like when you're a bad O-line, it happens to you more than, those sorts of things happen. But you look across the league and there was so much sloppy play between, quarterback center exchanges and, I would say kind of pass protection. And I think all this comes from this new age NFL feeling of not wanting guys to play in the preseason. So everyone's a little bit colder than they were. There was a 4-day, NFLPA mandated 4-day off period over the Labor Day weekend. So they didn't practice Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. There's just like all these things that I think played into it being a little bit of a slow start. But by all means, we knew the O-line was going to be an issue with this team. And it was on Sunday. And part of the problem is that the Cardinals and Jonathan Gannon figured out very early, and obviously being in Philly, he, knows the Commanders, relatively well and has played against them before. He was able to get pressure on the quarterback, rushing just 4 guys. They didn't do a whole lot of blitzes. There wasn't almost anything exotic, certainly up front. They tried to, hide their schemes and, and dupe, Sam on the back end. But I think this is something that we're going to see teams across the NFL do, and it'll start next week in Denver where, some of these more elite defensive lines are going to be able to get pressure with just 4 guys. And so as much as Eric Bieniemy wants to, use the quick passing game as a, extension of the run game, when they're dropping 7 and you're trying to get a 3-step drop, it's mighty tough to get a receiver open in that kind of condensed field. So it's going to be something that the team's going to have to adjust to. And the O line is who they are. We know they are who we thought they were. It's not a new surprise. It's just something that the offense and the team is going to have to adjust to and figure out a way to work with.
Yeah, and then Sadiq Charles probably has 2 sacks attributed to him. I think the one tripping up with Brian Robinson is not his fault. There was another one. I think I'm not sure if you saw this. He initially blocked a defensive tackle and then moved to help Leno, who was 1-on-1, and then that defensive tackle just was alone and ran right through the hole and too far away from Gates. But my question I had for you to piggyback off of that, I saw Mason Kinahan had posted on Twitter that Sam Cosmi, 44 pass blocking opportunities, no pressures given up, no sacks, no quarterback hits. Looks like he played a pretty good game.
No disrespect to Mason. I don't know who Mason is, but
he's a young.
I always say, what's that?
He's a young kid.
Oh, okay. So even when you look at, and I say this about the PFF stats too, when PFF puts out that Charles Leno was, a high-ranked, offensive tackle, you have to take all those O-line stats to me with a grain of salt because it's tough to figure out exactly what the blocking schemes are. I think if you can tell the guys are man up and blocking the guy right in front of you, then sure, you can assess a grade to that player.
Right.
Sam Cosmi had a good game. Sam Cosmi is going to be, I think the interior could be solid. I love Nick Gates. Obviously with him, it's the injury thing coming off the major leg injury. Cosmi, I have always thought is a good old lineman. I kind of liked him out of tackle more, but you move him into guard and you make that decision, by all means, go for it. I think he's going to be solid in there. The issue to me is going to be on the outside. And, maybe part of the, Sam looking so good is that, he's able to he has a lot of help next to him with Nick Gates there at center. And I like what I've seen from him. The issue is going to be when those tackles get beat one-on-one. You see Wiley got beat on the inside again yesterday.
Yeah.
Super similar to what happened on the safety in the preseason. They had a little bit of help there. Maybe Antonio Gibson could have chipped, the D end on the way by. But, I think that you're going to see I think that the interior is pretty solid. I'm most concerned about the exterior, the tackles.
Yeah, I agree with that. Throughout even going back to last season, last offseason as well, Cole Turner, rookie season, training camp, had a lot of hype, and then injury, had a kind of an injury-plagued first year. Again, this offseason, he has a lot of hype coming into training camp. Kind of looks like he's going to be a good piece of this offense. Then only gets 14 snaps yesterday. Do you think that was part of just how the game flow went, or is that just a product of him being behind Logan Thomas and Bates, or is that like more of Bieniemy trying to get Logan Thomas back in the swing of things because he missed a lot of time? Like you said, a lot of rusty play from guys that were missed time, didn't play in the preseason. So do you think Cole Turner is going to get more playing time come week 2 or throughout the season, or is he still trying to, find his footing in the NFL regular season games?
I think he's going to be more script based, kind of based on what kind of how they want to attack different teams. I mean, Logan Thomas is your number 1 tight end, so Bates is your your best blocker and can get out there to the outside a little bit. But at the end of the day, Turner's your 3rd tight end, and he's going to get 3rd tight end reps, and that's not necessarily a ton of work. And yeah, Logan was a little rusty yesterday. I mean, I think you saw it across the NFL. Different guys were rusty. I mean, hell, Joe Burrow threw for under 100 yards, and he's Joe Burrow. He didn't play at all in the preseason, similar for Logan. So I'm not particularly concerned about Logan in terms of, the drops that he had. I think that'll kind of work itself out. But as far as Cole Turner, I think he has to just keep making big plays when he's in there. And he had that really nice catch downfield on 3rd down on Sunday. And if he keeps taking advantage of those opportunities, then maybe they'll be able to get some more routes out there for him. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's just, he's a 3rd tight end on a team that doesn't run a lot of 2 tight end sets. So you're really kind of further down the snap count, the depth chart when you're a 3rd guy.
Yeah, now we got to talk about Sammy Sosa, Mr. Sam Howell, 19 of 31, 202 yards, a 61% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. I know that it was kind of a mixed bag, but do you think that was a good start for Sam Howell in his second career start in the NFL?
No. Who the heck is saying it was a good start? I mean, it's a great building block because it's pretty low to the floor. I mean, so
That's
if
fair.
you're somebody who just wants to see improvement every week, that's a pretty good place for him to start. It wasn't a bad start, it wasn't a bad performance from him. It just wasn't a good
Fair.
one. And I think some of the same, mistakes that we've seen and we now can kind of point to as we know this is what Sam does are happening. And that's him holding onto the ball too long, trying to make big plays when maybe the prudent thing is to just take a sack or to throw the ball away. And you don't want to take away take away that guy's, his want to, going downfield, but you got to rein it in a little bit. And, it's something that I think he'll learn from. Certainly the sack touchdown, I think he knows is, a play that just can't happen. And, that was, minus on the O line for getting the pressure, but then a double minus for him for turning his back to it and, not protecting the ball and all those different things. Early in the game, I thought that he was, slowly kind of getting into a rhythm, but I think the Cardinals did, and Jonathan Gannon did a really good job of taking them, out of what they want to do. And that's, that quick passing game. And when he started getting into some of the longer drops, then you start getting into the O-line having to protect longer, him having to make better decisions. I think that, he can move around within the pocket a little bit better before kind of escaping out to, to the outside. But all in all, it was a mediocre performance. I love the moxie from the kid from getting up after taking a cheap shot, early in the game.
Should have been ejected.
Should have been ejected. The guy's going to get Zahir White's going to get a max fine for it, whether that's 18,000 or 36,000. I'm not sure which number it is, but it's the Cardinals aren't going to be the only team that are going to go out there and try and rattle Sam.
Right.
That's what NFL teams do with young quarterbacks, and certainly they do it to rookie quarterbacks when they're coming in. But when you get a fifth rounder out there, you don't think about if what we were talking about with Josh Dobbs being back there and how Montez Sweat was going to be, ready to go and licking his lips, ready to get after that, get after the quarterback. So it's the same thing with Sam Howell. That's the way other teams are going to approach him, and he's going to take some extra little hits, some extra little shoves to the ground, extra little they're going to use him to help push themselves up. Like that's what teams in the NFL do to try and rattle quarterbacks. So hopefully no one gets their feelings hurt, and hopefully Sam's able to stay healthy. But this is something that he's going to have to deal with all season long.
Yeah, and by the way, nobody was saying that. That's just the way I structured the question, and you responded the way I wanted you to, Mitch. It was a great job. But to wrap this up, I have 3 more questions for you to wrap up this interview, brother. What is your biggest surprise of the game? And let's not go with like the easy suggestions, but somebody that was not expected to do all that well, but really surprised you.
I mean, a guy that I've loved since training camp is Abdullah Anderson. And he's not a guy that's flashy or going to go out there and make plays.
He kicked ass,
but
man.
He's a big, strong dude that sits in the middle of that defense and does not let himself get pushed. And I think I pointed out from the Browns game, but it might have been the Ravens game. He's just a dude that's all hustle. Like he's always running to the ball. He made a tackle 15 yards down play against the running back in the preseason. Like those are the kind of plays that make the team, because certainly, I mentioned him a couple times, but by no means did I think he was going to be contributing week 1 of the NFL season. And here he was. And I thought he played well for who he was and is kind of a no-name probably for most Commanders fans. So I guess if you want a surprise, that's my guy.
No, that's a great one. I mean, Abdullah Anderson was a name that we were kind of looking at saying, why is it that listed on the depth chart when they were, I think there was a ranking early in the offseason of all the defensive lines, and they had listed Abdullah on there, and we were kind of like, huh? That doesn't make sense, but it does now, Mitch. Next question for you. In regards to the 20-16 win with Washington, we had a lot of questions heading into this game. So my next question for you, what did we learn?
What did we learn? To me, I think a big thing is the Antonio Gibson fumble, which is kind of gets swept under the rug because it's not something that we talked about. But there was a lot of. We're in his 4th season now. Like there can't be this fear that he's gonna drop the football when he gets it, and it feels like so many of his fumbles are in really, really bad spots on the field. And I like that they went back to him because you can't crush his confidence, right away by yanking him. But Chris Rodriguez ran the ball fine when he was in there. I think Brian Robinson can be shifty enough in the pass game. You got to wonder if Antonio Gibson's starting to wear his fumbling is starting to wear thin on the staff, because it's something that they've dealt with in the past, and I think they probably thought they were finally beyond it after last year not being a problem, and now you step out and you feel like Antonio Gibson's in a good spot in this offense, because it's an offense that likes to use a lot of quick passes and use that to kind of get guys into space, and that's what Antonio Gibson is supposed to do well. I'm not a huge AG guy, because for all the talk about his explosiveness and his speed, outside of the Buffalo screen 2 years ago, we haven't really seen a ton of big plays out of him, and he's certainly touched the ball enough that he's had opportunities to do it. So I think that's something that we saw, and obviously everyone recognized the fumble, but I kind of put a pin in it in my mind, and I was like, I'm curious as we move forward, how hesitant are they going to be to give him the ball in big spots like that, because that was a scoring drive in the making, and just kind of got completely derailed.
It was
really, it was just his rookie year against Dallas. He had that huge game, and Buffalo, like you talked about the screen. Other than that, if you have more fumbles than you do big plays, that's kind of concerning.
Yeah, like Brian Mitchell says all the time, I agree with him. Ball security is job security, right? And it's obviously a known thing that's said around. But Mitch, last question I have for you. It's not really a question, but could you grade some grades for us out of 4: coaching, offense, defense, and special teams? What would be your grades for those 4 categories?
Offense, I was pretty rough on. I gave him a D- on the pod. I expected more out of them, and
I gave a C- to Hal. To your point earlier, I thought that he.
I thought I thought they needed to make better adjustments. Part of that, I think, is they came at a halftime and it was a torrential downpour. So if whatever they did talk about, kind of at halftime, probably got put in their back pocket because they were forced to kind of run the ball. But I mean, even at that, Brian Robinson didn't rush the ball particularly well until kind of the end of that fourth quarter. And you look at what Denver did to the Raiders. I mean,
Josh Jacobs,
Josh Jacobs ran for what, 2 yards a pop, 2.5 a pop. So that's something that everyone. I've seen a lot of consternation about how much the Commanders, the run pass ratio. But if you can't run the ball, there's no reason to keep just pounding in there and getting a yard or 2 at a time. You gotta find a way to move the ball downfield, and I don't know that Denver's going to help these guys out in terms of doing that. So I think the offense needs to take a big step if they're gonna try and compete out there. Defense, I give a A2.
It's
maybe
easy.
not quite an A+, because giving up 16 points to Josh Dobbs is a little tough. But to me, when you needed your stars to step up and make big plays, they did. That end of the third quarter, you had back-to-back TFLs for John Allen and Deron Payne, and
beautiful sequence of plays.
Yeah, and Sweat got the strip sack. I mean, Montez, we were in the locker room the other day when Bosa got his contract, and we were like, everyone was like, "Oh, that's a lot of money," and we kind of were saying it loud enough for the players to hear, and they were like, you could see their eyes open up a little bit, and hopefully Montez got a little more motivation there, seeing that there might be 100+ mil down the line, and if he keeps playing like he did on Sunday, who knows what's going on there. But if Montez keeps playing like that, a lot of people are going to say Chase who.
Yeah.
True. A lot of people are already saying that, Mitch.
Listen, I know there's a lot of frustration there. I have the same frustrations. To me, I've been saying I think part of it is just the way that Ron Rivera talks about Chase's injuries and kind of injuries as a whole does a little bit of a disservice to the guys, just in terms of narratives that are out there. They can all say that they don't, read the newspaper or look at Twitter, all those different things, and aren't concerned about it.
They definitely do.
They do. And, when Ron talks about it being just a stinger or being a stinger, everyone has this connotation of what a stinger is and how quickly players come back from it. I'm not going to speculate on what the actual injury is, but I imagine that it's probably a little bit more severe than your typical stinger, and he doesn't have to go into the details of like, hey, there's a L2 L3 problem, but you could say, hey, a little bit more than just a stinger, and they think it's gonna be a couple weeks, whatever it may be. So it's a tough situation. Whenever he's healthy, hopefully it's enough motivation that he steps back on the field and is ready to ball out.
Yeah, and I think that Ben Standig had tweeted yesterday or the day before that it's a neck injury is what he reported, and that was kind of like the new update of it all. But Mitch, I can't thank you enough for joining us. Hopefully Chase Young comes back against the Broncos. We're going to need a lot of help in that game. It's a good football team. I can't thank you enough for joining us, brother. Before you get out of here, everyone watching this probably already knows who you are. They know where to find you. But just in case there isn't anybody, just that one guy over in a foreign country, he want to know where he could find you on social media.
Twitter and Instagram at Mitch _ Tischler. Real quick before I go, I want to go around the horn here. Broncos prediction. What do you got? Kyle, start with you.
Oh no. I do think that we're going to win, but it's going to be close, and it's going to be a nail biter. I think 23-20 is probably a good place there. I think Russell Wilson looked really good, just not in terms of where he was last year, if that makes sense. And the one thing about them is the Broncos are going to attack the edges, and it seemed like yesterday the Cardinals were able to do that pretty well through the ground. So that is a big concern for me with Javonte Williams, Samaje Perine, that we all know very, very well here. So I think 23-20, and they find a way to squeak that out.
Mike and Mike. Which Mike wants to go first?
Let him go first. Ladies first.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game, probably low-scoring game. It's usually just look at the offenses, both offenses based off of week one. Look at both defenses based off of week one.
That's a good one.
I'll go a low-scoring game. I think it's gonna come down to a field goal. I think hopefully Cheeseman can get his snapping together, and Tresh can stop playing shortstop and scooping the ball up off the field for Joey Sly. But I'll go. I think that's going to be the factor in the game. I think that a missed field goal is going to be the factor. I'll go. They lose this one 18 to 15, 18-14, something like that.
We're starting early this year.
And make sure you write this down. Broncos 19, but not from lack of the defense. The defense is going to do a great job as always. They're going to somehow edge out that 19, and we're going to have 76. That's how confident I am right now. Somehow. No, I'm just kidding now. 19-23 Commanders.
Okay.
I got 16-14 Commanders. Write it down.
Okay,
I got it right here.
I'm writing that one down. Take a mental
I was
note.
just thinking as Hall was talking, because Hall brought up really good points, Mitch, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, he's right, because I was thinking maybe like a 16-15 type of 17-16 type of game like we saw yesterday, and that would be right on par with it, Mitch. That was a really good one.
Yeah. Appreciate having me, guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it,
Thanks,
Mitch.
sir.
Have a great
Appreciate
week,
it.
brother. Enjoy the victory Monday, sir. All
You
right,
too.
everybody. We just talked to the man, Mr. Mitch Tischler from Monumental Sports Network. Always enjoy being able to talk with him, especially after this game yesterday, which was up and down. Like we talked before, dude. It was a stressful game, Hall. You were sitting next to me the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, the way they played would stress you out, honestly. And we should have known this was going to happen. Everyone was coming in talking about, oh, this is the worst team in the league. I know Washington's still kind of building the offense up and trying to find their footing, but defense should be able to handle it. And it should be a cakewalk for Washington. And it was the legit opposite of a cakewalk. So, yeah.
Well, it should have been, honestly. The defense only gave up 9 points to the Cardinals offense. That should be money for this football team to kind of work with in that breath. But
we don't blow out teams. We know we keep teams in the game.
Yeah, but obviously we made things very difficult on ourselves. But I will say this football team is geared, this defense is geared to getting those tackle for losses. We talked last season where we said that they have to do better on first and second down because they're giving up these 2 to 3 yards, and it takes them out of that pass rushing mode, right? Well, we saw yesterday with Josh Dobbs, when there's 2 tackle for losses by Daron Payne and John Allen, that forces them in a deep 3rd and 15 situation. That's when Montez Sweat is able to go pass rush and get that fumble on Josh Dobbs. This is what that you saw yesterday, what this defense is truly capable of at their peak. And that's what my whole thing is, those tackle for losses on first and second down. I think somebody had reported it was like 10 tackle for losses happened on 10 of the 11 possessions for the Cardinals. And that's a recipe for success for this football team. The more you can make 2nd and 11 more so than 2nd and 6, this defense is going to be a really good position to do well.
Yeah, I forgot how stressful football was, dude. The whole time like, it's been so long, it's like the whole game, like in the middle of the game, I was just like, God damn it, sorry, I didn't mean to say the GD word. I was like, this sucks. We're totally about to lose to the worst team in the league. We're about to lose to the Cardinals. Why is this happening? Oh my God, we're going to be 0-1. Everybody's going to laugh at us.
And
And then all of a sudden, no, Kyle, no.
keep
And
going.
then I'm not your boyfriend anymore. You can't just do that. You can't just shut me out. And then towards the end, I was like, oh, we totally got this easy as long as. But one thing to remember, it is a young quarterback playing in a brand new offense, and that was week 1. So everybody, it'll be okay. The Cardinals heard all the chatter all week and all offseason too. They make millions too. They got millions on the line. So they came
So
to
what's
play,
the
and we
Giants'
still won.
excuse?
Yeah, what's the Giant? I couldn't be happier that happened to a
Yeah,
team
seriously.
after this happened this offseason with them talking all that shit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But before, let's do our game beers. And then let's do some gassers for anybody that deserves it. So, Reed, why don't you start us off first since you're so eager to talk tonight?
Well, I mean, you shut me up for about 15 minutes while Mitch was talking.
That was my fault. I'm sorry about that. But it was
No, I
just
was
the
just kidding. You
timing
didn't do
goes-
anything. No,
You know what I
I was just kidding. I just had to have a quick quip. There's one easy one, obviously, but I'm not going to go with that. I'm not going to go with Old Sweat. I'm going to go with Jonathan Allen just because that WWF Tatanka style sack, that Texas tornado spinning around, catching the bow.
he sacked him with his back. That
Dude,
was awesome.
that was
Dog,
mid
that was
spin move,
crazy.
brought him down. I was like, yes. And he was the highest graded player on the Commanders yesterday with like a 92 rating according to PFF, which, like we talk about, when PFF's on your side, you love PFF. When PFF rates somebody low, PFF has no idea what they're talking about. They suck. So
Yeah, the person that's getting a game beer from me is none other than the guy whose jersey I was wearing yesterday, Cam Curl. Led the team in total tackles with 10, 1 tackle for loss, and a pass deflection. Nearly had the interception in the red zone there. You saw how pissed he was running off the field when he had that opportunity. Percy Butler had a bunch of opportunities as well. But for me, I think Cam Curl deserves the game beer for this one.
Yeah, I was going to go Cam Curl just for all the reasons you said. He said he wanted to come in this year, work on getting turnovers and get more turnovers, and he's getting close. Almost had one yesterday, so hopefully he gets a turnover next week. But I'll go with – I'm trying to think of someone on the offense. I'll go with Curtis Samuel, honestly.
5
I think
receptions,
Curtis
54
Samuel
yards on 5
Yep.
targets.
led the team in receptions and targets, I want to say. And
No, not targets. Logan
not
Thomas
target.
did
I think
with 8.
Jahan.
Yeah,
Oh,
Logan
really?
did.
Logan, damn. But yeah, led the team in receptions, and yeah, he's just a reliable guy that's going to get you some yards after the catch. He had a couple of rushing yards as well. You saw how they were trying to use him all over the field, and I just think that hopefully with Jahan and Curtis getting a couple of receptions yesterday, kind of building that chemistry with Sam. Hopefully Terry gets put into the mix as well coming into next week, but I'll go with Curtis Samuel just because I feel like he's the forgotten receiver out of these three that he doesn't really get talked about a lot, but he definitely puts in work every week.
honorable mention, somebody who I forgot even played on our team up until the end of the game, Emmanuel Forbes. But you didn't hear, I mean, at least from the broadcast, you didn't hear his name called at all. And then at the end, he had that game-sealing pass breakup on a beautiful job in coverage. So shout out to Emmanuel Forbes.
Yeah, dude, he ran the route for that wide receiver.
Yeah,
That was a
he
beautiful
undercut it and
fourth down.
stuff, yeah.
We were going crazy because Deuce had talked about in the group chat. I know he made a good point. We drafted Forbes for that reason to catch that football. But that being said, I was saying, dude, I felt like he was surprised, like because he ran that route so well for the wide receiver. But he was like, they're not going to throw it to me. And then when he turned his head, the ball was in his lap, and he was like, oh man.
Then
Like
he
was
remembered
like,
it was Josh Dobbs, and he was like,
Yeah.
actually, he might throw it.
Because, like to your point, they had not tested him all game. The one time that they did test him was at the sideline, but it was a
he
quick
got beat
throw
on
forced
that.
by the D end, and they threw it up high, and it was incomplete.
Well, there was the one, I think it was Hollywood Brown, faked like he was going deep, and then obviously just ran a hitch, and Forbes was kind of caught off balance, but he'd been running routes all game like that. So
I know exactly which one you're
understandable.
talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Now let's move on to our fan questions to wrap up this episode, boys. To talk about this game, recap this game and our experience over the weekend, because if you could tell by my voice, it was a fantastic time. This question is from the Colonel. Hall, I'm excited how much Eric Bieniemy has spread the ball around. I honestly think it's the only way we won the game. Their defense was better than expected. What grades do you give our offensive line?
I'll give him a C minus just because I feel like they were average or like slightly below average. But again, if you go back and watch the game, like everyone's kind of, you look on Twitter, social media, all the clips, and you just like listen to the people that cover the team, have rewatched the game, get the all 22. Um, I would say a couple of those sacks were definitely on the offensive line. I'd probably contribute two of them to the offensive line. Two of them were on Hal, like holding on to the ball too long. And I think the other two were just like unlucky stuff, like the Brian Robinson stepping on Sadiq's ankle and stuff like
Right.
that. But there definitely was a lot of pressures to go with those sacks throughout the game. Guys were getting beat one on one. So, all in all, like you said, I feel like the interior, as they grow a little bit more, is going to be good. The tackles on the outside are like kind of really the questionable parts of the line right now. But again, it's week one. They got to get them more reps. They got to gel together. But honestly, I would say if you look at the teams that are coming up in the next couple of weeks, like Denver's D line is good, Buffalo's D line is good, obviously Philly's D line is good. So they're going to have their hands full the next coming weeks. So I think we're going to learn a lot about them in the next couple coming weeks.
Yeah, thank you, Colonel. It's a great question. We actually have other offensive line questions on Twitter. So we're going to move to the next question by the Colonel. And Reed, I'll go to you first with this one if you're okay with it. He says, guys, honest assessment. No bull crap. Yes, a win is a win in any given Sunday, yada, yada, yada. Cardinals came to win. We looked almost unprepared or just not motivated or perhaps even overconfident. I'm still letting it gel. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean look at the offseason, look at the preseason, all the hype, all of our fans were talking about. Well, we didn't keep in mind, like I said earlier, this is quarterback's first year going as the starter. This is only his second game started in a brand new offense that he just learned. It's week one against a hungry defense. It's kind of to be expected. They should grow, they should get better, but of course we're disappointed the whole time. We thought we were going to blow them up. We thought it was going to be a cakewalk. We forgot that those are professionals on the other side of the field. So it's definitely disappointing, and it's definitely, but it's a bit of a nice reality to have that in week one and be like, oh yeah, this is the NFL. I forgot this isn't college. You're not playing Charleston State and being like, oh, this is an easy dub. There's no such thing in the NFL, unless of course you're playing the Giants.
Yo, no, look, this wasn't a trap game like other people are saying. I don't think that they were unprepared. I don't think that they weren't motivated. I think that they just made catastrophic mistakes when they shouldn't have. And it goes into everybody kind of making this mistake. It's not just one person. It's not just Gibson. It's not just Howell or the offensive line. Giving up 6 sacks is an accumulation effect. Not a lot of people wanted to be honest about that with Carson Wentz last year. They just wanted to blame the offensive line. But it's okay. It happens. That being said, I was pissed yesterday, all throughout that game. Hall was sitting next to me. I felt we shouldn't have been anywhere close to 16-10. That's not on the defense. The defense held them to 9 points. That's what you want this defense is supposed to do against an offense like the Cardinals. But I was disrespecting the Cardinals defense and Gannon and the way that he was preparing them. And they're a good defense. They are. They forced everything up short. But I'm not going to say that they were overconfident going into this game. I think that Hall called it perfectly on Thursday. I re-listened to the show on Thursday this morning, and he said this offense might come out slow because of the environment being overcome by this situation, everything. They might start out slow, but they might end up making some plays, and that's exactly what happened there. So I'm not going to be throwing or panicking about this football team just yet, but I will tell you I was very frustrated during that game. I felt like they let too many things slip through their fingers.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think they were not prepared or overconfident. I just think that, like we talked about with Mitch, like you think that the guys say all the time they don't listen to like the outside noise, they don't read the press clippings or Twitter or whatnot. I'm pretty sure they all knew that the Cardinals were like not actively tanking, but like they're one of the worst built rosters in the league. So you got a quarterback in Josh Dobbs who just came in a couple weeks ago. So I'm not going to say that they were overconfident
or eyebrows.
Right. I just think that they were not even taking it lightly. I just think that, again, like Reed said, those are professionals over there. And like, you can say that the Cardinals are tanking and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. The front office and then like maybe the owner wants to tank because they want to get a guy like Caleb Williams, but the players and the coaches that are on the field down there, they're playing and putting future film on tape for future teams to either pick them up or maybe get carried over to the next roster the next season. So, again, I thought that I thought that the offense would struggle a little bit, and I thought that the offensive line would kind of have their struggles just because, again, this is five new guys playing together in an actual like real game, not just preseason against like a couple backups here and there. You're going against starters every down in, down out. So I kind of expected that. I just thought that the defense would not get off to the slow start that they usually get off to, as far as like getting gashed by the run and just kind of making like mistakes here and there. And on the offensive side, also going back to that part, all off season, even going back to like Kansas City, everyone said that Eric Bieniemy is all about the details, the small stuff, and it just kind of looked like yesterday the offense, like the details and the small stuff, was kind of not what probably what Eric Bieniemy wanted to, and up to what he thought like what par would be. So a lot of stuff to clean up. All in all, they got the win, so you can't be too mad about it. But definitely can't play like that going forward on the offensive side of the ball or defense. And I mean, yeah, if they played that in week 2, I can definitely see Denver coming out and just kind of giving them a whooping back to the East Coast.
Absolutely, yeah. I hope not. To that credit, I didn't even think about what you said there, but I don't agree with you. Now, the next question, Reed. This is from Alid on our Discord chat server. Thank you, Alid in the UK. Oi, what was the one thing you enjoyed when you were inside FedEx Hall that hasn't been there in previous seasons?
Kyle.
I would say Reed, but he didn't come.
Deuce
told me to tell you to do better. That's what Deuce told me.
Tell Deuce to stop trolling people as Deuce-alicious.
He's gonna be mad at you for that because he was
No,
like,
I love
"Don't,
Deuce.
don't come
I
back to
live
that
far
guy."
now, bro. I'm a PA bro. Go Birds. I'm a Philly bro. Go Birds. You know.
One thing I liked, or that wasn't there,
Okay,
I would say.
Hold on. Let me answer this for you. It's a really funny story because like halfway through the game, Hall and I were like, "All right, let's go get something to eat." You know, I'm kind of hungry, whatever. So he came with me. So we're standing in line and we're like waiting to go up and we're looking at the menu. We're all sitting there and I'm like thinking in my head, I talk so much crap about those glizzies and like I might buy one. And Hall comes up there. He's like, "So what are you gonna get?" And I was like, "I don't know, man. I'm kind of looking at the hot dogs." He's like, "I know." And so then Hall goes his separate ways. I buy my stuff and I'm walking towards the door and Hall looks at me. He goes, "Did you buy two?" And I was like, "Yeah," because we both bought 2 hot dogs. So I'll say the 2 because they were $4 or whatever. We both bought
I'm not
2.
gonna lie. The half price glizzies were like top 5 best thing in the stadium yesterday. I'm not gonna lie.
I was like, I kept looking around every bite, and I was like, I swear, if somebody takes a picture of me right now,
I know. I was looking around too. I'm like, is somebody recording me right now? Somebody's probably zooming in on me, just like chomping
this
on
was
this
a
glizzy
setup.
right now.
Somebody sitting with a camera across the stadium.
I don't know if you guys. I just had to do bomb farts. You guys are talking about it. I hope the microphone picked those up because like they were so loud that Lindsay just came across the apartment and peeked her head and was like those are bombs. I'm sorry. I hope I gotta go. They're loud. They
are very
they vibrated. They hurt. It was.
All right,
anyway,
now,
no, that's funny.
let's move on to the next question. Read without a fart this time. This is from Chris Comerton in the Discord chat. Did we get caught sleeping on the cards, or should we be worried?
Nah.
That you're trying to fart again. I was like,
Oh, that's
No,
what I
no,
thought, too.
dude.
I
If
was
I do
like,
that,
man.
I'm not. I would.
There might be
No
some
shitting
extra
in the
coming out with
apartment,
that one.
and that would have happened. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
like Dave Chappelle on the toilet, like.
I don't think that we got caught sleeping on the cards. I think that what happened was we shot ourselves in the foot a lot like a young football team does. But I will say this, they responded accordingly. Like after Howell gives up that touchdown, fumbles it away, that throw to Curtis Samuel was absolutely beautiful. I mean, it happened right in front of Hall and I. And typically that corner route, when it is thrown, that was to Curtis Samuel along the sideline right before halftime. When that ball is thrown, typically the wide receiver catches it and his momentum is taking him out of bounds. But the way that Howell threw that based on the angle, Curtis was able to stay in bounds and get extra yardage, which was huge because we only had 20 seconds left in the half to be able to get that field goal, which was huge in getting the win. So I think that was huge.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think they overlooked him. I think that, again, a lot of people just kind of put the label of, it's the Cardinals are the worst team in the league. This should be easy. And you came out and you forgot that those are NFL players. They're in the league for a reason. They're starting for a roster for a reason. So Yeah, and then at the end of the day, like I said, I think that the offense was going to be a struggle, a work in progress anyway. So hopefully, you build on that going into week 2, and it's not as sloppy as it looked in week 1.
Yeah.
Also, my bad. One thing to keep in mind, like this defense did exactly what they were like what you would expect an elite defense to do, coming up big and just dominating like that.
They held Arizona to 4 of 14 on third downs. They held them
Right.
in the red zone to
9
0 for
points.
2 in the red zone and 2 turnovers. Obviously, they did
And
exactly what they needed to.
I think Nikki Javala had this on Twitter. She said going back to last year, the last 8 games, they've allowed no more than 4 third down conversions. So
Damn.
again, a lot of people obviously defensive stats fluctuate from year to year because you're going to face different quarterbacks, different offenses, different rosters, whatever. But for them to carry over that third down percentage and like keeping teams like low for that, like conversion wise, is hopefully something they're going to keep carrying over into week 2 as well. So and beyond. So that's definitely a positive sign.
Yeah, now this next question in Discord is from Tim Towner, the human genius. Thank you,
Human
Tim.
genius. There he
His
is.
question is, Reed, we need to keep on the sunny side of life. That said, name one silver lining that you found after week 1.
The defense, dude. The defense, like we said, defense did exactly what they were supposed to do. This you really saw like how good this defensive line is, and that's without Chase. I mean, Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, John Allen, they were making so many plays, and then on top of that, you saw the depth of the secondary really come into play, and like how good some of these guys can be. Yeah, they gave up some big passing plays. Kendall did a few times, but like you got to be impressed with Cam. Derek Forrest was all over the place. Emmanuel Forbes' name wasn't called. Benjamin St. Juice, of course, showed his length a few times. And yeah, I mean, there was a couple boneheaded plays, but you really saw like what they did to improve this secondary.
Yeah, and Tim wanted us to talk about our weekend with the UK boys. Obviously, Andy did both Andy Scouts.
So it's like Keith and Andy and them had a good old time.
Yeah, they did. And Scott. He wants to hear about golfing, pool, and the game.
Yeah,
Golfing.
who won the golf?
Nobody did. Mother Nature did. Because what happened was after the 4th hole, it started pouring. I was in the cart with Andy Burrows, and I picked a specific golf cart because it was number 44. I always do have a golf cart. I was like, Riggins, heck yeah, that's the one we're picking. It was a horrible golf cart, barely would start. It was slow as hell. And so what happened was we were out there on the 4th hole. It started pouring. And so because were making jokes like, oh, it's thunder, it's no big deal, whatever. And then it started pouring. So we had to drive back 4 holes in this slow golf cart. So usually on a golf cart, you have a lower flap and an upper flap on the front to kind of guide you away from rain. Well, this one also didn't have an upper flap. So the entire way we're going back, Andy and I are getting drenched, and Andy's yelling at me. He's like, Kyle, I'm never riding a golf cart with you ever again.
But do it in his voice. Do it in his voice.
We're never driving a golf cart with you again, Kyle.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but it was really cool. They gave us a refund at Herndon Centennial. And then we went out to the bar afterwards. We got to play pool with Jeff Reinhardt, Keith from the Hog Farmers. Obviously, all the UK boys were there. And it was a really fun time because they want to talk about the pool shot. So it was Andy and I versus Jeff and Keith in pool that night. And what happened was Keith had scratched, and we were both on the 8 ball. He had made his ball, the last ball, and then was on the 8 ball, but he had scratched. So what I had to do was put it above the dot where you break from, right? So because the 8 ball was behind that breaking point, I had to hit it down and up. And Keith was talking all this crap, talking about to Andy, what are your rules on this? So I put it behind the dot. I'm not going to lie to you, I sank it. I bounced it off the end, came back, and knocked the 8 ball in. So that's the pull shot they keep talking about.
Bit of a pool shark over there.
A little bit.
You don't want to get Kyle in the deep waters. He will drag you down.
Keith keeps saying that I got really, really lucky. I'm just saying my grandfather was with me for that one, man. Because
little does Keith know. Yeah, you are actually a little bit of a geometry / mathematician. You're you're really good with numbers. You're like Rain Man.
And then the actual game itself on Sunday was absolutely just an incredible time with everybody. The tailgating was out of this world. I mean, you walked in, there were shots being handed to you, there was beers, everyone was making food. Steve Lim was cooking up hot dogs for everybody, and
I feel like Steve Lim could cook like it.
He did. He had a bandana and everything on. It was awesome.
Oh,
dude.
Okay, so he was dad mode. He was dad tailgate mode.
Yeah, we got to
He
meet
even had
Big Doug.
A Washington apron on. It was tight.
It was tight. We got to meet Big Doug and everybody. We were taking shots of Johnny Walker Black Label, and then we went in the stadium, and that was just a craziness. But the weirdest was when we went to the gray lot and we weren't able to walk around the players' entrance of the tunnel to go. Like usually you could do that because we were in the gray lot, so we were walking across to get to the red zone. The lady was like, nope, not today, you're not allowed. So we literally had to walk all the way around the stadium to get to the red zone lot, and it took a lot of time. But I will say this, I was very surprised by how fast we got to the stadium. We were there in like 30 minutes, dude.
Really? Did you look at them and did you say, "Do you know who I am? I'm Kyle from the Burgundy Zone."
No, absolutely. I didn't want to cause that woman a bad time. It's just
That was another thing that I liked. Like the traffic getting there and getting out was like the best it's ever been that
Crazy
I've
for how
been to
packed it
games
was.
before.
Yeah.
Like it
The
was
hell?
actually kind of crazy how we got in and out so like quickly.
absolutely, and it was such a great time with the UK boys. I was so happy. I was so happy for them to be on the field, to be there during warm-ups and everything. Like they traveled a long way. They spent a lot of money, a lot of time on this team, and I'm really
Meanwhile-
glad that there's somebody in place like helping them out. Because that should be something they should be coming for. Like
Meanwhile,
people
I
like
can't
Reed
travel an
shouldn't
hour and a
benefit
half,
that.
2 hours to go
Yeah.
see them. They can travel across a goddamn world.
I know.
And come over here.
I know. Trust me, Reed. We were all saying it this weekend. I know.
I know
Now-
you were because you guys are all two-faced fox.
Now this next question, next question from the Discord, real quick. Jeff Miles, Hefe. I understand that Cosme may be better at guard than tackle, but is he a better tackle than Wiley? Because Stromberg wasn't terrible. Wiley is stressing me out, and the next 3 defenses we face are Denver, Bills, and Eagles.
Well, look at Carson Wentz last year. He was stressing a lot of people out, but they paid him $28 million. They paid Wiley a lot of money. So
True.
he's going to keep stressing you out as long as they going to keep paying him. So don't look for any changes anytime soon because, again, just like the Carson Wentz thing, they don't want to look dumb by paying a guy a lot of money and he's not really that good. So they're going to put him out there and keep trotting him out until he gets it right. Hopefully he gets it right.
Yeah, look, Cosme had a great game at right guard. Obviously, he was no reason for any of the sacks that transpired. And look, they only averaged 3.1 on the ground. Brian Robinson, obviously, or they did better as a team, but Brian Robinson averaging 3.1 on the ground with 19 carries for 57 yards. That's not good news for the offensive line. But that being said, I'm not going to be sitting here confident saying he's a better tackle than Wiley. Tackle is so much different than guard in all your footwork, your pass sets. That's why, like, kind of making Cosme move between them early on was kind of not a good thing for him. Like, focusing on one thing with guard is doing a really good job for him, and you're seeing the blossoming of his production there. So I wouldn't want to switch it at this point. I think Wiley, this is what Wiley does, and I think that he might be one of those guys that's better in cold weather games. Like early on, he might get a little bit, but once he gets that cold weather stuff, he's going to be anchoring down that right side for you. It's just making sure that he's healthy enough to get to that point.
Yeah, right now it's kind of fitting that his last name's Wiley because he plays like he's constantly chasing the road runner and just can never get him. But I mean, I don't know. He's sick joke, dude. Sick.
Now
sick
this
job,
next
Mike.
question from Twitter from our guy Paul Murphy in the UK. Thank you, Paul. Oi. His question is, Hall, can fans just embrace this season as an amazing fresh start with new ownership and deal with the good and bad together? Hal has hardly any experience, so of course he's gonna make mistakes. A new OC ain't gonna fix things quickly. Let's just enjoy the journey and see where it leads us.
Well, the short answer to that would be no. No one's ever going to agree on anything. But, I mean, yeah, I mean, look, most fans are I'm not going to say most. A lot of fans are happy that Dan Snyder's gone and it's a new era. So they're in the honeymoon phase, like they've been calling it since the sales happened. So win, lose, or draw, like there's going to be fans that are still like, yeah, we lost, but then there's people like me who are just I'm probably way too competitive for my own good, but I just want to win. I like to see wins, and yeah, that's just me personally. I like winning. I like talking crap to people about my team winning. So I would like to continue to do that. So I would definitely say that me personally, I want to see them keep like growing and winning games, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I can definitely see the other side of it where people are like, look, the biggest battle's already been won. The war's been won. We just got to fight the small battles now. But Dan's gone. The war's been won. I'm happy either way.
Yeah, can fans just embrace this season as an amazing fresh start with new ownership? I don't think so. One, because we are so emotionally invested into this team in an unhealthy way. I mean, look at us three degenerates, right? Like twice a week coming on here talking about the team. And there's no way that they're just going to be okay with losing. This fan base is, remember, like Dan Snyder feared the rebuild name, right? That wording. He hated it and the fan base did, because we knew that we'd be losing. We didn't want to do that. We weren't willing to do that to get those good players. So no, I don't think that's ever going to be possible. But I will say, I think that is a hopeful thing to look forward to for the fans, is that it's probably going to be hard for people to look past it. But at the end of the day, the normal common fan, they're gonna see that as a positive thing, regardless. To your point, Paul. But us, the savages,
I will.
like on Twitter and social media, yeah, we're gonna go crazy.
I will say though, I was actually just thinking about that. I think they're actually like majority of the fan base is happy with that because if you really think about it, like even during the winning streaks of like this past couple of years where they start off slow and then they get back into it and whatever, the stadiums still weren't packed, and it was because of the owner. So I do think that like a lot of fans, I mean, sold out crowd yesterday, 66,000 people. I think majority of those people were probably like on the side of it's a new era. Dan's gone, so I like win, lose or draw. I don't care. I'm just happy that the team is back. My team is back. Type of thing. So I think I did kind of underestimate the question or my answer to the question.
Yeah, and I've heard and I've seen people make comments like, "Oh, well, there was empty seats up top or in the lower bowl. How could you be sold out?" Our buddy Henry, who we went with, who drove us there, thankfully, he was in the standing room. He bought 400 tickets, but he ended up just standing in the concourse. And he said he was talking to people there, and there were people that were saying, "Yeah, my seat is down in lower bowl, but I just stand here for the game the whole time. I love it right here." So if anybody's making those comments, there's people like that who have those seats. They're just not up there; they're somewhere else. Suck one. And now the next question that we have.
But anyway, like Hall said, the battle has been won. We have defeated Sauron's evil orc army in the Battle of Helm's Deep, and now all we have left is to chase the ring.
That's such a great video. You guys need to go look that up. That guy is so funny. I forgot
so
about
good.
him.
Yeah.
No, the next question from Reg T. Skinner. We already kind of talked about this. Thank you, brother. On Twitter, Reed, are we overreacting with the panic from the offensive performance? It's week 1.
Yes, I've said it a few times already this episode. Week 1, young quarterback in his second year. Only started one game last year, only starting his second game ever. Brand new offensive coordinator. It's going to take some time. We all got way too excited and overconfident real fast. Who knows, though? Next week, he could have a big game. It's going to be one of those things. So before they get consistency, it'll take a little bit, but just enjoy the ride and enjoy the emotional ups and downs because God knows I just like it just because it lets me know I can feel again. I haven't been able to feel anything for years.
Yeah, we all know that. Are we overreacting? No, Reg. I do not think that we are overreacting. One particular point. Look, I respect the Cardinals now, especially defensively, but from here on out, it's only going to get worse. Yes, the Eagles lost probably a lot of guys. They lost Nakobe Dean. They're losing Fletcher Cox as well.
Guys.
They're losing a lot of guys, and I think somebody else. Who else got injured? Bradbury is in concussion protocol, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously they might be losing guys, but the fact is, it's only going to get harder from here on out. And so yeah, the Cardinals are good. Probably meter to get it up and running, but the fact is these mistakes cannot be consistent. They cannot be persistent. That you have to limit those and cap those because it's only going to get harder from here. And making those kind of mistakes is not. You're going to lose games against the Bills, against the Broncos, against the Eagles if you make those kind of mistakes. And so no, I don't think that we're overreacting. I think that we're acting accordingly, and we should expect that from them. But that being said, it's not like we should tell everyone that they should be fired, that Eric Bieniemy's not a good OC because of what happened yesterday with 6 sacks and stuff. That's not the point, and that's what everyone's been doing the past 2 or 3 years whenever we have a bad game of some sort.
Yeah, I don't think it's a overreaction. I think that, again, if you really just like Reed was talking about, in a vacuum of everything, I pretty much rebuilt all new offensive line, a new system, new coordinator, new quarterback, pretty much learning the system and learning the guys on the field that are playing with him.
Too.
Yeah, learning the NFL while he's like on the field playing as well. So I expected the offense, like I said, I think a lot of people expected the offense to kind of just – we've seen this before as far as like the defense is good enough to win games and they're holding offenses or stopping teams, but the offense can't capitalize on the defense doing their part and playing their part. So
they only got 3 points yesterday off that turnover.
Exactly. So hopefully the offense can keep building and keep growing and get things corrected quickly because, like you said, the next couple of weeks we're going against offenses that are going to put points on the board, and the defense can only hold for so long until they start leaking. So offense got to get it together for sure.
Yes, sir. Let's get some rapid fire for these last 2 questions from the UK boys. Reed, I'll go to you with this one from our boy Andy Burrows, who's on a plane right now heading back to the UK. I love you, brother. His question is, Reed, what can we realistically do in a week to improve the O-line?
First of all, he's on a plane on September 11th. That's terrifying. To improve the O line,
Yes.
just continuity. Right now, they just gotta play more and more together. The more that they play and get used to Sam Howell, I think that they'll be a lot better.
Absolutely. Health is the biggest concern with that continuity, right? Now, the next question that we have is from Scott Hartley. Hall. Oi! Thank you, Scott,
Oi.
who's also on a plane back right now.
Scotty.
Do you think it's on the O-line or Sam Howell for the offensive performance yesterday? I think the takeaways caused the game to be close yesterday, 14 points off turnovers.
Yeah, I'll go 60-40. I'll say 60% of it was actually, you know what? I'll go 50-50 because they work hand in hand. Sam was holding on to the ball a little bit long because, he's still learning. He's still learning as his second start. But the offense definitely was not doing him any favors at some points where he was running for his life, or even on the three-step stuff, he was kind of people on his face. So
Like
they
Reed
both
on
got to
the
get better.
weekends.
They both got to get better.
Just like
Yeah, just like Reed on the weekends. Now, this last question, let's do roundtable for Commander's Call. This is Steve, who is out golfing with us, a big fan of our show. He said some very nice things to us regarding the show. Drove down from Delaware for 4 holes of golf in Herndon, Virginia. The guy is a champion. I felt really bad for that, but it's all right. We're going to get him
that's
back
awesome.
down for another game this season. But his question is, now that the first game is in the books and the nerves of playing in front of that crowd with the ownership group in attendance are out of the way, what is the one thing that you saw that you think will be fine and will improve each game? And what is one thing that has you concerned that might be an issue for the rest of the season?
So the thing that I'm okay with that I think will be okay is Sam. Just the more comfortable he gets, he's going to stop holding onto the ball too long. Going to stop trying to make plays every time. I think he will be okay. The thing that I'm concerned about, Antonio Gibson. We talked about it. That fumble, and it's not even just like he could not fumble again for half the season, and it's just like I still wouldn't trust him completely because every time there's a big moment in the game and he gives the ball to Antonio Gibson, he gives it right back. So
Yeah, I agree with you there. One thing that I think we'll improve on, I think, is the turnovers. They could have had 4 yesterday. Percy Butler got his hands on one. Obviously, Emmanuel Forbes got his hands on one. Same with Cam Curl. I think those will come, and regardless of just how the situations persist. But we talked earlier about getting those tackle for losses, Steve, and forcing the offense to be in those passing situations as defense benefits from that. When you start seeing those tackle for losses, that's when things are going to start heating up in those turnover situations. And as long as they can continue those, they're going to get those abilities, those opportunities to come their way. And I think that that's something that will improve throughout the season and getting more and more turnovers. And then one thing that is concerned might be an issue for the rest of the season. It's Sam's running. And I know that obviously he got the touchdown off the running, but we saw yesterday the Cardinals were looking to make a point and to hit him and to rile him up. Obviously, look, Gannon as a defensive coordinator saw Sam Howell as a second start in the NFL, and he said, look, these guys might be a little bit soft, so let's try to hammer him out. Let's try to hit him as hard as we possibly can. And I think that Sam Howell has been giving himself up way too much. Like one thing about Lamar always gets himself down. Even if he's running out of bounds, he sees somebody about to make that contact, he'll still slide. He doesn't care because he's not going to get hit with that contact. And he stays relatively healthy for the most part. The only time that he's been injured is when he's in the pocket. So I think that Sam Howell's running does need to be limited because too many times he's giving himself up for a chance to be hit. And my biggest concern, even before the season, Steve, was him staying healthy for 17 games because quarterback consistency is not something that we have had here.
Yeah. One thing that concerned, I would say, I was trying to find it now, but I can't find it. But I'll say the rush defense, if you just go back to last year, towards the end of the year, they were getting gashed up the middle. They were getting gashed in the run game. And not that they were getting gashed yesterday, but not like crazy big plays, nothing like that. But the yards per carry that James Conner was getting in the first half of the game, as opposed to like the second half when the defense kind of was like, all right, let's just like step up and like crush these guys. I think that is a little bit concerning because, again, facing teams like Denver, Philly, Buffalo, who have mobile quarterbacks and like to run the ball a lot, they're going to definitely test this defense up the middle.
Yeah.
And one thing that
and on the edges, dude, did you see Arizona did a lot of misdirection, play action, screens, bump off. Like they would get us going in one direction, then hit the other side. That was a common occurrence, and they did pretty well with it. So I think that we're going to be seeing a lot of that in these next coming games.
And what was the other half? One thing one thing you liked or whatever?
Yeah.
I would say
will continue to happen.
Continue, yeah. I would say just like you said, going back to what Nikki Givallo tweeted out, and the third down percentage in the conversions. They haven't allowed more than 4 third-down conversions in the last 8 games going back to last year. Hopefully that continues. You're holding the offense to 4 or less third-down conversions. That means you're usually having a pretty good day on defense, unless you're giving up like huge plays and you never get to third down. But more times than not, 4 or less third-down conversions, you're having a pretty good day on defense. So hopefully things gonna continue on throughout the season.
Yes, sir. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap us up for this episode. I can't thank you guys enough. Hey, if you guys reached out, shout out to you, Steve, to Eric, Deers and Beers, saw him at the game. It was such a great time. Comment on here. Let us know your thoughts on what the game was, your biggest surprises, your grades for the coaching, offensive, defenses, and special teams. We want to see you guys in the comment section. I can't thank you enough for tuning in and with my terrible voice today, screaming our heads off, but it is what it is.
I think you sound exactly the same as always.
All right, cool. All right, everybody. We'll see you on Thursday. I'm Kyle.
I wish I was going out to Denver for the game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, me too, dude. I want to hop on that plane with Coach Curl.
Yeah, okay, guys,
Yeah.
come on. No drug talk. And I'm
Whoa. I was talking about the Rocky Mountains. I like to hike. Come on, man. Jeez.
Big John Denver fan. Big John Denver.
Yeah, that John Denver's full of shit. And I'm Mark Tyler. I'm a great guy.
All right, everybody. Safe travels to UK, boys. We love all you guys. We appreciate it. Have a great week. We'll see you again on Thursday. Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!